Good morning. I must say that I haven't been to an energy conference where everyone is so well dressed. Usually it's in manufacturing, if someone has a tie on, they're either in sales or they don't have much credibility. So that's where I'm used to. But no, thank you for that introduction. The slides that I put together today are review our energy management strategy in sort of a broad context. I do talk about renewables, I do talk about power, but our opportunities in renewables is a little bit restricted or challenged, if you will. I'll mention that, but I wanted to go through our overall encompassing strategy, so hopefully that's a good fit into the conference here. So if you're not familiar with AngloGold Ashanti, we were, and I hope we still are, the third largest gold miner globally. We are now at 9 countries with 19 operations. We recently sold Cripple Creek and Victor in Denver, Colorado, in the Denver area to Newmont, and that was to generate some free cash and pay down some debt and such. But you can see the regions that we operate structurally. We're in 2 organizations, South Africa region operations and then international operations, just because South Africa has a number of unique business requirements, very unionized, a number of challenges, so they're focused just on that. I reside within the international operations externally, more of a global role for carbon reporting and things of that sort. Our overall strategy is really, as I visited our mines, I noticed that we don't suffer from a lack of talent. We have some great engineers in the field. They've done a very good job managing energy on their own, but they don't communicate, they don't collaborate. They're ready for sort of a fresh eyes review, and they've actually been very welcoming. I'm expecting a bit of some resistance, but no, they love their practice, if you will, so they're interested in the focus. But they've kind of plateaued, and they want to achieve additional gains. And of course, we have the same challenges with energy reliability and cost risk and fluctuations and such. So our strategy really is to establish a systematic continuous improvement process across the mines, look at energy efficiency, of course, a number of different KPIs. But, and obviously in this economic climate, we're looking for short-term payback right now, low-hanging fruit, but at the same time, establish that process so we're not just having a short-term focus. And again, energy security over that life of mine. Year to date, we are seeing some good data coming back, although our production has gone up and costs have dropped quite a bit thanks to the crude oil market. We are noticing an improvement in energy efficiency measured gigajoules per ton processed for both stationary and mobile fleet. So we're on the right path, and the nice thing about that measure is every job, if you will, at the mine site influences that. So even though the folks that are focused on improving throughput through the processing plant or shortening, going for a higher ore grade, shortening HME travel, all those things influence that number, so they're a part of the team. The foundation really is our energy management system, our business system, and this is uses the ISO 50001 framework as that foundation. I have a little bit of an insight. I'm part of the technical advisory group in the States, helped to write 50001 and going through some revisions now. However, I don't see that we have a great need for certification, but yet the dance steps are there, and it marries well with other best practices and things that benchmarking that we've done with companies such as Toyota, 3M, Raytheon, and such. So it has all the right parameters. So we're really kind of putting our AGA portions onto that skeleton. We've identified KPIs, targets, different strategies, and we've put together a strategy, a policy, and a standard document that's been signed off by our COO, and we have buy-in from the regional SVP. So as we go to the sites, different people have different motivators. Some want to, they're just focusing on cost. Some have a sustainability bent, and some of them you have to say, hey, we all have the same boss, and this is an assignment. But we provide those tools and such to help them do their job. So that support to the business, each one of our sites develops an energy management plan. I refer to it as a weight loss program. Here's where we are. Here's where we want to be. What are the actions you're going to do to get to your goal? And it's a 5-year plan along with timing, responsibilities, and again, many of those different actions. We have had a challenge with data collection and performance reporting. Another thing that I see in the mining industry, and maybe it's just things that I've my perspective or what I've bumped into, but I've seen companies that the corporate energy manager or champion or vice president, what have you, doesn't seem to have a very long tenure. Within a few years, that person may move on to a different assignment, or perhaps they're towards the end of their career and they're very seasoned and experienced, but there hasn't been some continuity. As opposed, if you look in manufacturing, you'll find energy managers that have been in their role for a few decades, and have that continuity. So by putting those practices together, if I win the lottery, so there'll be things documented and they can continue on. But so we have a community of practice, an internal website to share best practices. We communicate globally. So this is something that we're implementing and starting to see some benefits. And I think in future years we'll be able to have some case studies and a few specifics. From the corporate standpoint, at the sites, they're busy with the day-to-day. They may be interested in some technology, whether it's heat recovery or something else. They just don't have the time to research it, or may have not seen some other examples or installations of that. So we'll provide that technology review. We do have a number of projects underway, whether that's rework or expansion of processing plants, some power stations that are nearing the end of their life and we're in the process of reviewing tenders now and to replace those. So we do provide that technical support. And then again, the site level, the training and coaching, just improving that level of proficiency. Best practices, I think it's all the usual, bread and butter items, reducing average and peak kilowatt demand, looking at those subsystems, everything from the simple compressed air leak repair into are we generating air efficiently? Can we move it maybe to point of use? Do we really need to pressurize the entire mine when we're just working in a certain region? We heard lighting earlier this morning. I bring up lighting to our sites. Hey, it's a very small part of our load. We got bigger fish to fry. But I reinforce to them that it's a quick and easy fix. Yes, it's, you may not see it in your bill. If you're underground and have a lot of lighting, you will. But it's something that can be upgraded with a phone call. Hey, we shouldn't be replacing light bulbs and fixtures. Let's get a contractor in there. Let's knock it out, get the job done, move on to the next thing. We also include life cycle costing, so it's just not just the energy savings, but it's also the maintenance, and then there's a safety component as well. Energy metering and monitoring has been a great help to us. Many sites have, of course, electronic meters, smart meters at the incoming, but not farther down in the distribution. And as we do that, we're uncovering more opportunity, whether it's power factor correction, being able to have better history to properly load generators. So, I keep getting asked when we try to get these projects funded, well, how much are meters gonna save us? And My reply is, well, how many houses did that hammer build? You know, it depends how you use that and how you use the tool, but you need that data, you need that dashboard to see where you're heading. We also collaborate with the process owners. So just as metallurgy is trying to improve the processing plant and the mining engineers are working in the actual site, they may not fully understand the either benefit or impact that they have on energy. So we help them accurately measure that, actually forecast how that's going to influence, and we've got some good collaboration going on there. Daily operations I talked about. Of course, water is a big thing. Pumping is a massive load. And then, you know, working with our environmental and sustainability teams, both not just on carbon reporting, but also on these projects to make sure that we're factoring in emissions, we're looking at local content, and we're making sure that we're procuring solutions and services that meet their requirements as well. Renewables, you know, again, for us, the challenge has been we have operations in Brazil, so we're basically on hydro. We have our own reservoir and a series of hydroelectric dams downstream. So we try not to go to market. We're trying to reduce our load so that we don't have to go out and procure energy. But you know, cost is fairly reasonable. Our operation in Argentina, relatively short life of mine. If we travel to Australia, the region signed a natural gas contract a few years ago that at the time was brilliant. Today, you know, everyone's asking, what are you doing? So as old crude oil price increases, then it'll be more of a logical decision. But they've got a high take or pay. It's a bit of a challenge trying to discuss conservation with them along with adding renewables. South Africa region, as I mentioned, there's some business challenges there as well. There is opportunity, of course, between the natural resource that's available and challenges from Eskom with reliability. But so they are looking at operations. Really, my team and I, the bulk of our time has been spent in continental Africa, Tanzania, Ghana, Guinea, Mali, and with energy reliability concerns, both from the grid as well as our power generation stations, and trying to add a bit of, I'll say, sanity to the discussion. Our site may say, hey, they're expanding the grid in our country, and you know it's going to be cheap, and we'll plug into that. And I'm like, well, just you know, hang on. Just if you see a transmission line going by, it doesn't mean that it's energized. It doesn't mean that there's enough power, and it doesn't mean that the power is reliable. And then as we talk about cost, you know, that hasn't been determined yet. So even as natural gas comes into a region, how is that going to be indexed to crude? I mean, so it'll be a little bit cheaper, but they'll make sure that everyone's getting their cut of the action, if you will. One challenge is also theft. Our mine in Gaeta, Tanzania, has the fence around the airport stolen almost on a nightly basis. We put it back up, the next morning the section's gone. We've even painted the fence posts pink, and they still disappear. Then the guy in town selling pink fence posts claiming they're not ours. So to put renewable solution in, I've had service providers say, well, we'll fence it in. Okay, that's not going to work. Well, it'll be well lit. Well, that just helps them steal it faster, you know. Oh, we'll have webcams, right? They'll just give them something to wave at, you know. And well, it's like security guards. Well, don't get them from in town because they're living next door to the guy who's ripping us off. So, you know, you can't electrify the fence, and maybe dogs. So there's things that you don't realize. It's almost as if the technology is the easy part of it. So, yeah, remoteness of sites, you know, making sure that we're getting servicing that we need. It's not going to be, hey, call us. We're in Belgium, and if you need us, we'll fly down. And or we have a service center at the next major city, but That service center is used to being a sales location for HME equipment. So, you know, a number of challenges, and we'll obviously go through this in the discussion coming up. We've looked at a number of different technologies, like everyone has. You know, biofuels, everything sounds great, and when the lines do cross, absolutely. I wish we had a specific goal for renewable energy. Right now, you know, the company's still in sort of a recovery phase, if you will. We'll get the board of directors there. It'd be great to have a separate fund for renewable or sustainability projects. Again, if you peek into manufacturing, there's companies such as the Frito-Lays of the world where there is a separate fund that can be used for projects if they meet different hurdle rates, because if those renewable projects get in line for, you know, stay in business capital, production, they'll always be at the back of the line. They're never getting funded. Just an anecdote from my Ford days, there was a construction project manager on the Dearborn truck plant with the grass on the roof and such. And that's a technique that Ford did because, like in mining, a manufacturing plant is its own business unit, if you will, and the product that plant is making, the profit goes back to paying off the construction of that location. So the project wasn't burdened with the additional costs at the time for some of the renewable technologies, and this is circa 2000, 2002 or so. So that separate fund helped. PPAs with termination schedule, as we went to tender, we asked bidders to give us over the life of a PPA, what does that schedule look like? So if we do need to cancel the contract at any point in time, we know what that exit clause is going to cost us, whether it is closing the mine or whether it's because the grid did come by or natural gas is reliable now and we can make those business decisions. It was mentioned this morning, and it's true. I mean, we have mines that have had a 5-year life of mine plan literally for the last 80 years. So, you know, it's a matter of risk and that we need to manage. Carbon trading was discussed, energy load, of course, increasing over life of mine. Utility-owned systems, you know, should we really be, you know, not the sole solution of installing renewable systems, but as these grids are getting stabilized and expanded, we look to the Tenescos of the world and the VRAs in Ghana to say, hey, you know, what are you doing to provide a renewable component as you're increasing your grid and you're stabilizing your generation? And even small package systems that we could use, whether it's solar thermal or even photovoltaics. You know, we don't need to have, you know, thousands of acres of photovoltaic. If we can't justify that, let's at least get it into certain applications where it is the right fit. We heard about remote locations and mine closures. So, you know, in the right instance, absolutely. So really just closing the presentation, quick presentation, you know, our way forward plan, obviously in the current climate, we're rapidly replicating best practices. We're looking at those short-term opportunities. One challenge or some feedback that I gave my leadership recently in a meeting is many of our mines have identified opportunities that have a 2-year or less payback, but they're not getting funded in the spirit of cost savings. And, you know, I reinforce that, hey, we've got opportunities, spend $1, save $4, you know, hey, we need to really look at improving, you know, the free cash flow through some of these. They see energy and think, well, we can, you know, do we really need to fund that? Elevating the practice through our energy management system, the tools, the training, and the processes. And then, of course, cleaner renewable solutions as they make economic sense. It all comes down to dollars and cents. So that's my presentation. I think we'll have opportunity for questions with the panel. Thank you.